Okay, so my name's Alex Ward. I'm Director of Design at Criterion Games in Guildford in England. I'm currently working on Burnout 3 Takedown. We're showing today at the EA event probably the most complete game, the complete version of Burnout. We're very close to finishing now. We're probably at about 95% completion. We don't have much development time left, so this is probably the first time we're showing a full build with all the game modes are in, all the online plays in. You can play all the crash junctions. We didn't show them at E3. We kept that sort of little secret. So yeah, you're pretty much seeing it all. Burnout 3 is a different racing game to anything else. We've got crashing in the game. And a common question we're always getting asked is the game more about racing or more about crashing? Well, it's a racing game, and you're racing to win the race. So winning is everything. So really, it's a racing game. It's a racing game that has crashing in it. And the big change in the game this year is how you win. Just like if you play SSX. Is it a snowboarding game or a jumping in the air game? Well, they're both important. I have to race down the hill and I use tricks to give me boost. It's a similar thing in Burnout. In Burnout, in a racing game, the other guys on the track aren't really interesting to me. They don't mean anything unless I'm playing online. However, in Burnout 3, one of the key differences is how I earn boost. And in Burnout 3, if I drive aggressively, if I smash the other guys off the road, the boost meter grows in size. So we haven't changed the game, it's still a racing game, same as Burnout 2 was, as Burnout 1 was. However, it's how you race which is making the difference. So if I drive aggressively, if I take down my rivals, if I battle and fight with them, I get more boost, the boost meter is bigger, boost lasts longer, I can drive quicker, I can win the race. So one of the new things in Burnout, in the crashing, there's two new things. The first thing is that you can play the crash. And when I say this is that in Burnout 1 and 2, whenever you wrecked, it was kind of really negative. You were kind of on a downer about it. You crashed the car, you lost control, we showed it from some different angles, and then you reset and carried on. In Burnout 3, when I crash, I've got control. I can play the crash. I can slow down time, we call it impact time, I hold down the boost button, and I've got aftertouch. I can steer the car in the air. So it's like a dirty tackle in soccer. If one of my rivals takes me down and I'm wrecking, he's stolen my boost, I'm flying through the air, I can hold down R1 and steer and I can try and land on top of him. Again, a dirty tackle in soccer, somebody comes and kicks your feet from under you, you try and pull them down as well. So I've still got gameplay going on even though I'm crashing. And again, we're trying to develop the language, the vocabulary of crashing. What are the terms you use? You could say I played Burnout 2 last night, I did a big wreck. I played Burnout 2 last night, I did a big wreck. There's no real way to explain things, whereas if we're watching a basketball game, the guy did a three-pointer, there's 2 minutes to go. In sports games, you've got a language, you can talk about what the different shots were. That's what we're trying to develop with Burnout. We're giving you lots of messages. We want to develop a vocabulary of car crashing. So again, while I'm crashing, we're scoring the crash. Just like in a trick game like Tony Hawk's or SSX, we're showing the player what's happening. So hopefully you'll be able to say, I was playing Burnout 3 last night, I did a big crash, I slid on the roof for 50 meters, I did a 180 flip into a bus, into a semi. You can talk about the crash more. And that sort of vocabulary and communication about games is kind of key at the moment. It's a big thing that's happening, and it's made a profound impact on our game. We didn't want people to feel as bad when they're crashing, and we're getting a lot of good reaction when people are playing the game, they're playing the latest version. They don't feel bad when they're wrecking anymore, and the crashing and the racing side of the game have sort of come together, and that's something we've always been trying to work on. The scope of Burnout 3 Takedown is it's bigger and better than anything we've done before. People always say that when they're making a sequel. Oh, it's bigger and it's better, but you know, just like in movies, sometimes the sequel can kind of suck. With Burnout 3 in crash mode particularly, you know, this mode was a side mode in the previous Burnout game. We did 15 junctions. There were 2 which didn't go in. So we actually had 17. So when we made the game on Xbox and GameCube, we added in a few more. And we brought the total up to 30. And this time we thought, well, we've been away for a couple of years. What do people expect? So we actually originally shot for 150. Let's do 150 crash junctions. But that assumed that all 150 were the same. And I can also play crash mode this time. I can play it online. I can play cooperatively, either split screen or online with somebody, or I can play head-to-head in a battle mode against them. So what we decided to do, we decided to lock the number at 100, but we decided to go back and make them play differently depending on whether you're in co-op or in battle mode. So there's pickups in crash mode in Burnout 3, and when you're playing the game, the pickups are in obviously different positions when you're playing co-op or playing battle. And the reason for doing this is that in cooperative play, we're big fans of that. But remember when you played Halo through co-op on the Xbox, if one player was really good and one player was rubbish, one player could do all the work and you would still win. So if Burnout 2, in Burnout 2 crash mode, you would just play and it would be turn-based, pass the pad, and you would play for score. What everyone always wanted to do was have the chance to compete in the same crash junction at the same time as somebody else. So we're doing that in Burnout 3. So when we're playing together, both players have to perform well to get the best score. We add in more pickups in cooperative mode than are in the single player crash. So even if I'm really good and I've played through the whole 100 single player, I think I'm king of the hill, when I'm playing with a friend, I've got to learn the junction again because the junction plays differently in cooperative play, and in battle mode it plays differently again, and the way pickups are used is different in battle and co-op than it is to single player. We've got positive and negative pickups in there. Positive pickups are things like score, pickups giving you money. We've also got stuff like the instant crash breaker. Crash breaker is a bomb that goes off in your car. If you hit the instant crash breaker pickup, it instantly sets a bomb off and anything around it starts to crash. When you're playing cooperatively, you share the crash breaker threshold. Crash breaker in 10 wrecks. Okay, cool, so if you get 5, I get 5, we both get it. When we're battling, there's only one crash breaker. Whoever gets it first gets it. Instant crash breaker immediately blows up the other player. So we've really spent a lot of time this time. Crash mode is not an afterthought, it's not a side mode. Crash mode's a real integral part of the Burnout experience, and it's definitely way better. At Criterion Games, we're PlayStation 2 specialists. You know, we admit that. We've spent more time working on the Sony hardware than on the Microsoft hardware. But for the first time on Burnout 3, it's a parallel development. We're working on PlayStation and Xbox at the same time. In terms of difference between the two, well, we set out on our PlayStation game to make it look like the best Xbox game you've ever seen. And we're quite close to achieving that on Burnout 3. I think in terms of the big question, you know, I own both systems. Which one's the best one? Well, there's no real answer to that in the sense that I think at the moment the water effect is better on the Xbox than the PS2, but because the PS2 version is so strong, the Xbox version certainly can't look much better than what we're doing on PlayStation 2. The game is Burnout 3 Takedown. It's being published by Electronic Arts. It's shipping in September for PlayStation 2 and Xbox.